not try to back her up.
That's the hubby yelling at me. Hi guys. Alright, so I promised I wouldn't make any more postings for at least a few days, and it was really hard because I've had so much that I wanted to talk to you about. I am baking again. This time I have a new fancy schmancy KitchenMaid machine. See that? Pretty neat, huh? So I thought today was just an absolute must record, and I needed to talk about today because it's supposed to be all about the journey, right? And the good, the bad, the ugly, etc. So last night I got no sleep. I was up, I kept waking up. I was nervous, I was anxious, I was like in tears. I just could not go to sleep because I think it hit me yesterday just how much has to be done and how much I need and how much I don't have, and just how, like, what a major undertaking this is. This isn't just baking cookies, it's not just, you know, thinking about playing with the kiddos, and it's real live, for real work. I'm gonna try to turn this on. If it's too loud, we'll see. But I think it's gonna be too loud. So it's real life work, and that, I knew that, but I think yesterday, last night, it just all kind of came crashing down. So I was going on to find all of the certifications and licenses that I needed to be, you know, to operate a bakery, a food business, like food handling and processing and all that good stuff. And I don't know if this is nationwide, but certainly in Texas, you have to have like a certain class to even be able to do those things. And obviously, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing here. So I was just going on to see what I needed to know. And the first thing that freaked me out is everything has to be commercial. Duh, CD, of course, everything has to be commercial, right? But down to even the blender, the mixer that I use to make the cookies. It can't just be a really high-end home mixer. It has to be a commercial kitchen mixer. And that's just a whole another dynamic. And I've been pricing ovens, and I've been pricing freezers and refrigerators, and you have to have certain tables, and I mean just all of these things that I hadn't considered, and it just got super overwhelming. And I just kept thinking back to 3 people now have told me, like, this has cost me, you know, they started businesses, bakeries or food businesses, and they all said, you don't have $100,000 to do it, just don't do it. You know, it took me $100,000. It took me $100,000. I spent $100,000, and that is daunting because I don't have anywhere close to $100,000. And I've been thinking, like, well, I don't understand why it would take that much, and why, and this, and, you know, I would have made different choices than that person and what they purchased, and so maybe that's why it cost them that money. And you always think that you're the exception. And just, I'm realizing that I'm not the exception. And not only am I not the exception, but I have a launch date, a firm launch date, a launch time. It's not a firm launch date, it's a launch time. I want to launch second quarter of 2014. And there's a reason behind that. It's not just because I want to. Statistically speaking, from the time you get an idea, the longer it is between execution, the less likely you are to actually make it happen and starting a business. And, you know, I've done all this research on that, and, you know, I've read all the stories and facts and statistics and all that good stuff. And so, you know, I believe in this. I believe in this so much. And I'm afraid that I've already pushed it back. I wanted to start by this holiday season, and it just wasn't realistic. It was never realistic, and I realized that, thank God, sooner than later. And so we pushed it back to next year, but I don't want to keep pushing it back because I want it to happen. And I don't want to lose momentum, and I'm already finding that. Like, trying to nail down this cookie recipe is, you know, it's daunting. Every time I think I got it and I try to replicate it, then something goes wrong, and a good recipe is only as good as the next time it's great, right? So there's just a lot that I'm realizing has to happen, and I feel like there's no time, there's not enough resource. It's just overwhelming. And so I was kind of stressing last night. I started back at work today, which was amazing. I was received really well, and my team was great, and man, I just love those guys. They're awesome. And so that was good. But then I left. So I've been thinking, how can I cut costs? And I got the idea, or I was given the idea, or somehow the idea got in my head to check into those kitchen incubator things. And if you're not familiar with the kitchen incubator, it's essentially a kitchen that one can go and utilize. It's a commercial kitchen. They have all of the certifications. They've passed all the inspections. So they take care of all of that overhead of having the commercial equipment and utensils and tools and all that good stuff. And so you can go in there and rent space, and it's relatively inexpensive. So I reached out to a couple places. One place called me back. There's a story behind this place, but the long and the short of it is actually it's a church. It's a restaurant that is being used as a church and a community feeding place. And so I go and I met this guy, and when I pulled up, I thought it was really interesting because it's a place that I've noticed just in my own comings and goings significantly. I promise you, if I noticed it once, I noticed it 10 times over the last 3 weeks or so. And so I always find it funny, like, why do I always notice this one building? Well, when I went to go and take a tour of this place, this was the building. And the pastor met me, Pastor Johnson, and it was great, and he's telling me about, his history in the food service industry and how he came to be a pastor and all of this stuff. And I'm just thinking, like, Lord, is this a sign? Anybody who knows me knows that I'm all about signs. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't work. But, so I'm thinking, like, was I led here? Have you been showing me this place and preparing me to receive this blessing? And so I'm going around, and it's fine. But then we get to the kitchen. And the kitchen was not at all unsanitary, but it just wasn't like what I imagined. It was not the stainless steel countertops, or even the plastic countertops that are just nice, that I'm baking and listening to a little bit of Ingrid Michaelson, a little bit of Beyonce, little Nora Jones. Like, it wasn't that. I'll be honest, it was kind of icky, right? There's like a plunger in the middle of the floor, and there's stuff coming off the walls and off the floor, and it was one of those things where you kind of walk around like, not wanting to breathe through your nose, not wanting to breathe through your mouth, because it just didn't feel like the place that I imagined. And so I was disappointed, because it would it would absolutely save me thousands upon thousands, possibly tens of thousands of dollars a year. And so you would think that it's an easy choice, right? Like, just duh. But it's not, because I have to be happy in where I'm creating this. I didn't come this far in this vision to be miserable in it. But then on the other side, I think that everybody has to have a sacrifice. And like I told my friends and my husband and anybody else who's listened to me today, I keep thinking about the greatest success stories and how they've all had a sacrifice. You hear people say, I lived in my car, or, I went across the country with no money in my pocket, or I was homeless, or I would need, or I was, all of these really, really determined stories before their dreams came true. And I feel like Cookie's Place is my dream. I feel like it is the gateway to the next part of my life. And so I'm wondering if this situation, because mess and untidiness and uncleanliness it's just not my thing. And so this would be a really trying situation for me. It would be incredibly daunting and very difficult for me to deal with. And so I'm just wondering, like, is this my test? I don't want God to be giving me a blessing and saying, yeah, you don't have $100,000, so here's your out, but you turned your nose up to it because the packaging wasn't right. So that's what I'm dealing with, right? And it's hard, because you also don't want to assign intent to God that he didn't intend. Like, I don't want to be baking in a gross kitchen, and God's like, that ain't even what I needed, right? But again, it's just so hard to know. And people say pray, and yeah, all right. I mean, I know that's what you're supposed to do as a Christian, as a believer, but sometimes God's voice just doesn't come that way. And certainly that's just not the relationship that he and I have so far. God doesn't speak to me in those direct terms, and so I struggle. I'm struggling. I am struggling video. You know, I don't know what to do. I feel stuck and I feel overwhelmed and I'm anxious, and again, I don't want all of the negativity to get too heavy and too overwhelming where I start thinking about all of the why nots, because there are a billion of them, and I knew that going in. But when you have the eager, I don't know, but I don't know that I have to know, because again, this is about the journey, and so this is a part of the journey. I'm looking for places, I'm looking for locations. That's not going 1000% well. I find a great price and it's kind of a bad neighborhood, or I find a great neighborhood and the price is astronomical, or I find a great neighborhood and a great price and they say, yeah, but you're kind of technically a bakery and we already have these no compete clauses with some other people, and so it's just like finding a location even has been daunting. And then I got a real estate agent and he just refuses to return my phone calls. The universe is not cooperating right now. But I have a vision. The pastor at the place today, he actually prayed over me and in the business. And I thought it was great because he actually told me about 3 other kitchens in the city that do the incubator kitchen deal, which I thought was really noble of him. But he said, you know, there's a vision, and you can have an idea, you can have, you know, all the plans in the world, but if God gives you something, then, you know, then he's also giving you the provision. If he's giving you the vision, he's giving you the provision, and so he'll provide. So I'm trying to hold on to that. You know, my faith is important, but it's not the strongest right now. That's been something that I've been struggling with for quite a while now, and but yet I know that's all I have. And so it's such a weird experience because, you know, a year ago, 2 years ago, it would have been all about like, no worries, no worries. But when you don't feel that you have God to stand solidly on and your faith to fall back on, it's even more difficult because you're having faith without feeling it. And I guess that's what faith is. Sorry, I promise I'm not trying to undress myself in front of y'all. But I guess that's what faith is, you know? Believing it when you don't feel it or believe it, or I don't know. But I know God is real, and I know that he's had his hand in this whole entire situation. And I'm just going to continue to trust and believe that that's the case. I don't typically ask you on the video for your feedback, but I'm going to. What do you think? I mean, not that I'm asking you to make up my mind, although if you guys could just tell me what to do, that'd be great. But what do you think? You know, do I go with the Christian-based kitchen that doesn't necessarily make me feel like I want to build my dream in that kitchen, but may actually get me closer to my dream? Or do I go with one of the other kitchens that he suggested that doesn't have that Christian covering? Because, I mean, the fact is there are other kitchens, but it doesn't have that Christian covering, and that's what's weighing on me right now. As frustrated as I am with God and my relationship with God and, you know, everything, at the end of the day, that's all I have. So the Christian part means something. So your opinions, I'd love to hear them. So it's not a bad day. It's actually a good day. It is. Like I said, I returned to work and that was great. I'm in a position of looking for a location and having options of how to make this dream come true. So I'm going to count this one as a good. It's just trying. So anywho, looking forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks a lot. God bless and love you.